to talk all things playoffs coming up right now with Danny Kelly from The Ringer. But before we do that, let's get a word from one of our sponsors, one of the best in the business, Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
That's right. That describes us. Cheap, local, good.
I like
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Danny Kelly. Follow him on Twitter and Blue Sky at Danny B. Kelly, senior staff writer at The Ringer. He hosts The Ringer Fantasy Football Show along with his buddies. Also, The Ringer NFL Draft Show. And again, our segment brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Go visit georgetownbeer.com. Danny Kelly with the old school Seattle Supersonics hat. He's all things Seattle sports. So how many people do you think, let me ask you a question before we get into football, baseball. How many people do you think leave Ichiro off? He didn't quite do enough to be in.
I have no idea when it comes to Hall of Fame voting for baseball, but I personally think he should be a Hall of Famer. I'll say that.
You know what? Hold on. Let me just write that down.
I am pandering to my base. No, but I really do. Like he was unbelievable. This is my argument. A whole generation of kids tried to model his batting stance. To me, that's enough to get him into the Hall of Fame. You remember this? Like the whole thing where he's stretching and he like holds the bat up and like looks at the pitcher and does his little like tug. Yeah. I mean, when you get an entire generation of kids in a region, maybe even like the country, obviously also in Japan, just emulating a guy, come on, that's enough for me.
Remember they did a commercial about it. I mean, he had a whole commercial when, back in the day when they did those of people imitating him and his stance and everything.
I mean, I remember doing it, playing wiffle ball, just going out there and like going left-handed. I'm right-handed, but I bat left-handed. Just emulate the Ichiro thing. He was just awesome.
It's funny. I just think, Hall of Fame, it's kind of the same thing. It's like the NFL, right? I always think you just know if he's a Hall of Famer or not. I think you just ask this person. You give a name and your immediate answer, I think to me is usually like the correct one. It's like Mike Holmgren. Mm-hmm. Like that's been the big debate around here. Is he going to get in? If you say Mike Holmgren, well, yeah.
It's like you remember the quote back in the day. I don't even know what the context was totally, but it's like pornography. It's hard to define, but you know it when you see it.
Oh, I know when I see it.
I think that's the same strategy you should use in picking Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was one of the most defining players of his era, I think. Of course, that's biased for me coming from Seattle, but he was huge.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Danny's here. We'll talk all things NFL. Just a crazy weekend of football and those divisional round games. Are you a snow fan? Are you an elements fan? Because that was a big topic over the weekend.
Yeah.
God, I don't like the elements. I want everybody inside. It ruins the sport. Where does Danny Kelly sit on the elements debate?
I am kind of in the middle. I know that's like not really what you're looking for. I want a hot take here, but I would say here's my genuine, real opinion. It's annoying as fuck when it's in the fantasy season because it ruins their stats and you don't know how to deal with it. You don't know what, like, if it's going to be 100, like if it's going to be, 100 degrees or whatever, that's like a thing. If it's going to be 30 mile an hour winds, it's hard to deal with that in fantasy. Like, do we downgrade these guys or whatever? I think it's super annoying from a fantasy point of view. In the playoffs, I think it's kind of fun. There's a nostalgia to it where you're like, oh, this is old-timey football. This is how it was designed to be played. It's supposed to be outside. It's supposed to be in the elements. You play rain or shine, and I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. I would say from a fantasy analyst point of view, it's annoying, but the season's over, so I don't care now.
People were angry.
Yeah.
There were some people that were really worked up about it. This is not how a game should be decided. I'm like, we've been playing football outdoors forever.
Like since the 1930s, this is how they've done it. I don't really understand why it's like a new thing.
Like, I guess the weird thing is I thought at times that the Rams looked better in the conditions than the Eagles did.
Yeah.
I mean, some moments of it. I mean, obviously Barkley didn't seem all that affected by it, but like, did the weather cause the Rams to lose? I mean, the Eagles are a better team.
Right.
They won. They should have won.
I think, yeah, the only thing I could say is just in terms of you play the entire season with a dry football, and then in the playoffs, it's like this slippery thing that's like, it's like greasing up the basketball before you play in like in an NBA game or something. It is kind of like a weird concept that they play for most of the season, and it's like pretty normal weather and normal conditions. And then as soon as you get to the playoffs where everything matters, it's like, oh, by the way, we're going to introduce this other thing that completely changes the game, completely changes fundamentally the football game. I understand from that point of view, but I think also this is how they've always done it. I don't understand why they would want to change now.
I love it. When that snow came, it was the best. I love them all slipping out there, slipping around, not getting a hold of the football. It's awesome.
When they like catch a pass and slide for like 15 yards.
I mean, when they came out there and they attempted like a field goal or the extra point and all the linemen are out there, wiping away the snow.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I love the new graphics that CBS had.
Oh, like
was it CBS or Fox? Yeah.
Where they put the field markers on the field.
Yeah, that was great. It was awesome.
I will say it's I don't know. I understand people's point of view that they don't like it. But I think at the heart of football, at the heart of fantasy, at the heart of everything that we do in like this sport, variance is a huge thing.
Sure.
In football, there's not very many games. There's not very many plays relative to most other sports, and weird stuff happens. And that's kind of the magic of football, I think, too. So I don't know. That would be my defense of it. I kind of like it. I think it's fun. It's memorable, but it does make the actual product sport.
Yeah, but Danny, you don't get fat white men, fans with their shirts off in the elements.
Yeah,
we're right. If you want to get rid of that, and I don't know. That's not an NFL.
I don't know if I want to live in this country.
It's not an NFL I want to get rid of, Danny. I enjoy watching tubbos like me with their shirts off with a beanie on in the snow.
Is that you? Are you have you ever done that? Gone out into the snow games and like wear
with a shirt off? No, I'm
even cold. In your prime. Okay.
No, I'm cold now. I'm sitting indoors with a sweatshirt. I'm freezing. I'm not built for those elements.
Those people really are built diff.
Oh, they are. that fan base is built differently. Yeah. And now that the Lions are eliminated, now that's my team. I mean, I'm all Bills.
Yeah.
It's weird because I wanted the Ravens to win because me and my son are just huge Lamar Jackson fans.
Yeah.
Huge. And I want him to get that, that whole moniker off of him where he can't win the big one and playoff Lamar and all that. Because I just love Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they're out, I'm all in on the Bills.
I think, I'm rooting hard for Bills Commanders Super Bowl
rematch.
I just think they're the most fun teams left right now. I don't know if I'm rooting for the Bills or Commanders more. I feel like in my heart of hearts, I kind of want the Commanders to do it, like a Cinderella story. But I would not be sad at all if the Bills win either.
Yeah, it was one of the 4 that the Bills lost in a row. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I believe it was the second or third one in a row, or maybe it was the last one. How about I don't know.
So brutal.
Maybe it was the first one. I know it wasn't the first one.
If I'm remembering correctly, it was either the first, second, third, or fourth one.
The first one was, you know what? We have computers. We can look it up. Jesus. The first one was the Bills. I know that for sure. That's the first. The first one was. Excuse me.
They lost to the Giants.
Giants was the first one.
The then Redskins. Cowboys.
The second one was the Redskins.
Yeah. The Washington football team.
You know who the MVP of that game was?
Against Washington?
Yeah. From America's School.
I don't know.
Quarterback Mark Rippon. The pride of Shadle Park High School in Spokanistan.
Wow.
One-time Coug. Yeah, Washington. When Washington beat him, he was the MVP.
Very nice.
Yeah. That was like a team. You're like, I don't even think they weren't even that good. That was the thing with the Bills. They were better than everyone, probably except for the Cowboys.
Yeah. Well, that's variance. That's why we love it. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's why some people love it.
It's amazing though. It's we are if you're a Mariners fan, you're a suffering, baseball fan, but man, I'm telling you, a Bills fan, can you just imagine?
I can't imagine anything
4 straight years losing in the Super Bowl.
I'm a strong believer that expectations are sometimes really bad. Like they can be like the worst thing. Like hope is a terrible thing. Like not having hope.
Hey, this is like this is the whole theme of Shawshank Redemption.
That's what I'm saying.
Jeez.
You know, that hope can be a terrible thing. Sometimes the worst of things.
Yeah.
I like to go the other way with it, because when you have that hope and we have that expectation, losing just feels that much worse. And man, I cannot imagine anything worse than going to 4 straight Super Bowls and losing all of them. That is unbelievable. I can't, like, it's so much worse. It's so much worse than just being a bad team. You know what I mean?
It's worse. Like we would acknowledge going to 4 straight and losing is worse than what the Seahawks fan base endured in the second one, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. It's worse than going 20-something years without a playoff appearance. I can't imagine, like, just the disappointment, the wondering what if, like the second guessing all the decisions that were made in those games. Man, 4 in a row. Just
Hall
brutal.
of Famers everywhere.
Just brutal. And they got nothing out of it.
Not a damn thing, except for fat guys with their shirts off in this. So that's the fan base I want. I want that fan base who jumps off pickup trucks onto tables and breaks them and just gets out of control. Where I should know this. Where's the Super Bowl this year?
It's in New Orleans.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
God, they're
going to descend upon the Crescent City.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, New Orleans has no idea what's in store for them if the Bills make it there.
I feel like they've seen a thing or two. New Orleans has. They're used to this, but
like this?
Yeah, I don't know.
This may be a first for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the Bills. I want to see it. I want to see them win it. And I didn't think they were going to win that game. Boy, the Ravens at time looked so much better than them, but they just couldn't get out of their own way.
Multiple turnovers, man. That's how you lose in the playoffs. Turnovers.
Well, that's what Pete Carroll, protect the ball. Okay.
Yeah. He might have been onto something, honestly. You never appreciate an artist during his time kind of deal.
Right.
I feel like Carroll might have been onto something with the whole protect the football.
I think so.
Idea.
I'm sad he didn't get the Bears job, Danny.
I am too. I'm holding out hope for this Raiders thing. I don't know if he wants to go there or not, but the Pete Carroll experience in Las Vegas is kind of a funny thought, but I don't know. Yeah, I really want Pete Carroll to be a head coach in the NFL because I will immediately just become a huge fan of that team automatically. Yeah. It is just one of those things where I thought I didn't want him to coach the Seahawks anymore. And now he left. And I'm like, I miss him. And I want him to coach someone else because it's like, we have a relation. He changed like Seattle sports forever. So you love him. It's like a Lou Piniella type of deal.
You know what I miss more than anything is him at practice with the 2 gloves on throwing a football around. just
running around.
And then his cheesy shoes and his khakis and
Air Monarchs.
Yeah. And all his stupid sayings and just all of it.
I mean this sincerely and genuinely. He was like a fan base's psychiatrist or psychologist. Like his press conferences, his post-game interviews on the radio, it just like put you at ease. It made you feel okay and like with the world, and they're on top of it. They're gonna get these things figured out. We know exactly what we did wrong. Blah blah blah. Like just the way he kind of talked to you, it was like such a calming effect in a chaotic world. So I do kind of miss that.
I mean, I miss his gum, the chewing of the gum and throwing it into players' faces when he was. I don't know.
He's a character, man.
Yeah, he was. Well, we'll see with the Raiders gig. So Ben Johnson getting the Bears job and all that. All right, so you were excited for the championship games. We should have 2 real good ones. Obviously with the Chiefs and the Bills kind of headlining that in the AFC. It feels like America has reached finally Chiefs fatigue.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right. Because it's very similar to me. I don't know if you're a basketball fan or not, NBA fan, but like the Chiefs are likable. There's no one like not likable on the Chiefs. At least
maybe they're kicker, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I forget. Yeah. Because that's right. Because all women need to be in the kitchen cooking.
Right.
Is that
right,
Harrison
right.
Butker's?
I mean, in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's got a point, Danny. I'm just joking.
Okay.
Joking, people.
Trying to get me canceled here?
No, joking. But it reminded me of the Warriors. Like I would watch the Warriors, and I gravitate to the Warriors because of Klay Thompson.
Yeah,
and they're winning all these championships. They're in the NBA Finals every year, and then eventually people just got sick of them. Like, yeah, what's annoying about them? They're all likable. The head coach is likable. I guess Draymond Green's not
likable. There's one specific guy that maybe isn't the most likable.
Fair point. But for NFL fans, it feels like we've reached it with the Chiefs, right?
Oh, I totally agree. We were talking about that on the Ringer Fantasy Football Show, my podcast.
Where you can find it? Where can you find it?
You can find that on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We were talking about that the other day. Basically, I think there's an inflection point on that exact play where Patrick Mahomes sort of like slowed down as he was going out of bounds and then flopped into the sideline trying to draw a foul. And everyone's like, okay. I think, the old Jerry Seinfeld meme where he gets up in the theater and he goes,
That's
okay.
it.
Like, I think that was like the moment where everyone was like, okay, I'm fucking tired of this.
I'm with you on that. When he did that, I'm like, kind of like, hey, maybe he's not really slowing down when he's doing this stuff and lay off him. And I really don't think the officials are trying to benefit the Chiefs, but when he did that, and I think Aikman wanted to take off the headsets and run down there and be like, what are you doing?
Aikman hates that stuff. It's so funny.
Well, because his career was
era.
Ended.
Dude, can you imagine playing in that era back then? They didn't protect quarterbacks at all. He was tough as nails.
How many concussions did Aikman have? Man. Like 50,000?
Seriously, I don't even want to think about that. But I will say, I feel the same way as you. I'm like, if you look at statistically, like the Chiefs aren't benefiting from calls more than any other team in the NFL. I will say, I think Mahomes is protected more carefully or like more strictly than other quarterbacks, especially running quarterbacks. The way you see Josh Allen take hits or Lamar Jackson taking late hits, these guys are not protected at the same level as like a guy like Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, it's like, I get it. He's the face of the league. This is a team that's going for a three-peat Super Bowl championship, and losing Mahomes would change it changed the whole story. So like you have to protect like your stars. I actually do believe that, but I think the way that some of these calls went in this last game, where Mahomes he got that one call where he was sliding late, and then the two defenders kind of just ran into each other.
They hit themselves. Can you get targeting on your own teammate? Because that's what it should have been.
Other out.
Yeah.
That play along with the other one where he tried to get the flop, I think people are just like, okay, this is so annoying. But I also do think it's just like fatigue, like you said. We've seen that the Chiefs literally every season, Mahomes has been a starter. He's been in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. He's never made it. He's never gotten eliminated before the AFC Championship game. I think people are just kind of like, it's like the Brady. I think people hated Brady for other reasons, but like the Brady thing is like every year it's the Patriots. I'm so sick of these guys. So sick of the storylines are always the same. It just kind of gets boring. You just get fatigued on it.
It does, but it's there's been no accusations of cheating, so it's not like the Patriots.
Right.
Andy Reid is
not Belichick.
He's lovable. Yeah. The guy dresses up as Santa.
Yeah.
He's stuffing cheeseburgers down his mouth. He's a great pitch man on commercials. Yeah. You could sit and have multiple beers with Andy Reid, and I think you like him. I mean, I think the majority of America likes Travis Kelce. Maybe they're annoyed with the whole Taylor Swift thing and all that, but I like.
I mean, he has one of the most famous podcasts, most popular podcasts in the world, in addition to being a future Hall of Fame tight end and whatever. People like him. I still really like Mahomes, honestly. I think it's just I think it really is. I like Mahomes. I think he's one of the greats. It's like experiencing Michael Jordan in his prime. You know what I mean? It's like being in that era. We're getting to see this happen in real time. But the calls are kind of annoying. All this stuff around those Chiefs are kind of annoying, and I just think they're kind of boring this year. They're not a very exciting team. In the heyday of the Chiefs, in the early days of when they started their dynasty, man, they were one of the most fun offenses to watch. Period. This team, it's like Bo Nix is the quarterback. They're just throwing screens. I think he has his lowest ADOT in his career. He's not good on deep throws.
The slowest what?
ADOT, the lowest ADOT, average depth of target. Sorry, that's a fantasy term. The way that the depth at which he's
talking to an idiot, Danny. So when you use terminology like that, it goes over my head.
This is how I feel when I'm listening to baseball conversations and they're talking about BABIP and things like that. I'm like, I don't know what this is
barrel rate percentage.
But no, ADOT is average depth of target. So essentially, he's throwing short very often.
Okay.
At a higher rate than he has ever in his career. It's basically a dink and dunk offense. And so it's also that makes it just much more boring. Mahomes is not the same Mahomes that we've seen for most of his career, where he's, making these absolutely ludicrous downfield throws. I will say it is ironic that the play after he got almost flopped out of bounds and people were all pissed off, he made like an incredible touchdown pass.
Oh, the one where he's getting tackled and falling down.
Yeah, like splayed out like 100, like horizontal. Makes just and then flips it up for a touchdown. And this is the type of thing I think people maybe don't appreciate as much as they should or used to, is because all the other stuff that surrounds him. But yeah, I don't know. I still love Mahomes. I'm kind of sick of the Chiefs.
I am a big fan of history, and I like being in the middle of it. And I think I don't have animosity towards him. I'm going to be rooting for the Bills because I just want to see but the Bills got to deliver. See, here's what I want to know. If the Bills knock off the Chiefs, they better win the Super Bowl. Because what I don't want to see is them knock off the Chiefs and then lose again. That's what I don't want to be signed up for. So I want someone to tell me, look into the future. Yeah, they'll beat the Chiefs, and then they'll knock off the Commanders or the Eagles. Because if they get into the Super Bowl and they lose again, I'm out. I'm just out because I don't want to see them go through it again of losing in the Super Bowl. But to do something in this sport which promotes parity, and this it's supposed to be the anti, like Dodgers baseball, where you just can't build the best team and spend the most money. You're supposed to not be a dynasty in the NFL.
I mean, it's like college football. You look at Ohio State, like what they're spending, the amount of draft picks they have coming up here, and it's like, oh, a big surprise that Ohio State won the national title. In baseball, and I think I said this on your show. Like, I think literally the best thing about the NFL is the salary cap. It's what makes the NFL because it creates parity. Everything that the league does, from the draft being reverse order, the schedule creators, if you win your division, you play a harder schedule the next year. Everything that you do, the league does, is constructed. And John Schneider said this, is like it sends you back to 8-8. Obviously now there's 17 games, but it's designed to push teams to 8-8. It's so hard to be a really good team year in and year out because of the brain drain. You lose coaches, you lose players in free agency. Teams of good teams, or players on good teams, get valued more highly in free agency, so it's harder to keep your guys. I mean, it's just so hard, and it's such a competitive environment that's what makes the league great, in my opinion. Yeah,
it's why I don't want. Sometimes I wonder. We're seeing it this week with the Dodgers, and people are up in arms about how much money they're spending and all that. And I get it. It's I wonder if MLB and the NBA and these other sports just look at the NFL and go, maybe what they're doing is the right way.
I mean, if they were looking at the ratings.
Maybe we should look at the ratings and so parity's a good thing. Like, having a cap is a good thing. Now, I don't think those leagues are ever going to do it, but
it's hard to imagine the MLB with a cap. It's like the whole thing would change. It'd be so different. But yeah, I mean, to me, that's like a big reason I've sort of fallen out of love with baseball over the years. It's just like, I don't know, you can buy a champion team. That just seems so weird to me. I know that doesn't happen every year,
right?
But especially being a fan of the Mariners over the years.
Well, I would like one time for us to buy a championship, and then they can change the rules.
Can't we? Why can't we buy one?
We can. We just don't want to do it.
Just because we don't feel like it? Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just we don't feel
we're just trying to run a profitable business.
Yeah, what I mean? That's all we're trying to do.
That's like so soul sucking in sports. We're just trying to make a profit.
Yeah, it is soul sucking. What about the story of Dan Quinn and the Commanders? What a turnaround! No one had them. No one pegged them to be here, and they're one win away from playing in the Super Bowl. It's stupid.
It is. Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example of a lot of things, but the parity for one. I think the other thing about the NFL that's really cool is just how electric a good quarterback can be, and for your team, like, it's so like what Jaden Daniels is doing is unprecedented. Honestly, he might be the best. He might be the most impressive. I don't know statistically if he's the best, but the most impressive rookie quarterback I've ever seen. In terms of poise, the way that he changes the offense, the way that they've embraced him in that city, the way his teammates embrace him, they almost believe in him as like a mythical creature. My co-host Danny Heifetz wrote a big feature on the Commanders. He was in their locker room last week and a couple weeks ago, and he's just like, they think he's like their savior. There's almost like a cult-like following for him because they just believe in him so much. And he's like giving them every reason to believe that because of all the game-winning drives he's had this year. Man, I don't know what to think about Dan Quinn. I don't know if it's like what he's doing is like really spurring this or not, I think he's always been a very inspirational players coach. Guys love him. Guys will want to go to war for him. You know, and it's just funny and ironic because during the interview process last year, I think it was like, oh, the Commanders missed out on Ben Johnson. I think he took his name out of the hat for them. Yeah. And then it was sort of like they took Quinn just as a default, like we have to have somebody coach us, and I don't think anyone was super excited about that.
No one really felt, and myself included, it felt like no one in Seattle wanted him.
No. I think our situation was specific too, because it was like, okay, what's the difference between Pete Carroll and Dan Quinn? You know, maybe it ends up looking. I'm actually really glad they hired Mike McDonald. I'm feeling very bullish about him long term. But you know, it would have been interesting to see how different it would have been if Dan Quinn would have been here. You know, Cliff Kingsbury redemption arc is interesting.
It's great, and then I still don't understand. Like, he doesn't. What I'm amazed with Kingsbury is this: two things. One, how swollen he is, in terms of like the shirt gets smaller and tighter. And then the second thing, those bags under his eyes get larger every week.
It's like being president, man. It's a stressful job.
My God. Like, I want to know how many hours he sleeps.
Have you seen Kyle Shanahan's rate of aging?
Yeah.
These guys don't sleep. They probably have terrible like diet, you know, super stressful.
I don't think Kingsbury eats. I just think he pounds like some protein shake and lifts, and you know, some model girlfriend is his exercise at night. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he does anything. But for Quinn, it would have been vastly different here. I mean, it's not like his defense has been lights out.
No, and it's not like, and he wouldn't have brought Jaden Daniels again. Like I love Quinn. I think good for him. I don't think he's the one that's shaping this turnaround. I think it's Jaden Daniels. And credit to Quinn for, you know, embracing it and hiring the right guys. Kingsbury clearly like a good offensive coordinator for Jaden Daniels in terms of like the things they're designing. The run game stuff is super cool. You know, there was like a bunch of criticism early in the season and this is what we saw with him in Arizona, where he would just line up Terry McLaurin on the same side and have him run routes on the same side, literally like 97% of the time. And you know what? Credit to him. He started moving his guys around in the season, and that really helped. So, you know, he's clearly open to learning and changing. And I always like appreciate that in a coach when it's like, if something's not working, like don't try and, you know, round peg, square hole, or whatever, square peg, round hole. What is the expression? One of those.
Whatever, you nailed it, Danny. I mean, I think you got it.
Yeah. You get the point. I always feel weird saying that expression. It just sounds vaguely sexual.
It probably was of some sexual nature.
Yeah,
as I guarantee. All right, a couple of quick hitters before you go. We got to get the barge too. I got a perfect one for the barge. Jeremiah Smith, if he could come out, would he be the number one pick?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like Julio Jones, man. I mean, he's insane. He was the number one prospect in the country.
Yeah.
Somebody tweeted this last night, and it was so funny. It was I can't remember who it was. It was like Jeremiah Smith was the high schoolers had to guard this guy last year.
Oh,
can you imagine going up against this guy? He would be a number one receiver in the NFL right now.
Yeah, he is unbelievable. Those two backs are good. I mean, Henderson, like I don't know if there's a faster running back playing football right now.
I really like Henderson, man. That he has more juice. He's got more juice than almost any running back I can remember.
Yeah,
he's like Gibbs level juice.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
He's awesome. I don't know. I don't think he's as good as Gibbs, but he's got some juice for sure.
Next year, the Eagles, maybe in the playoffs, they got to give that holder maybe a try at catching some passes.
Dude, that's what I said.
Unbelievable.
That was the most impressive thing, individual performance I saw in the playoffs.
He's the MVP of the game.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, the holder for the Eagles in the snow, in the wind, in the rain, or whatever it was, sleet.
All of it.
There was like a very key field goal. He did this twice. There was a very key field goal in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And the snap was like a rocket. It was a really hard. He just like does a P-Rod snap. And it was like way out in front of him. He had to reach out and just grabbed it. Snagged it like it was nothing.
Yeah.
No movement. And then he put it down. It was a perfect hold. I was like, that is the most impressive thing I've ever seen.
It was the best. Braden Mann, I believe, is his name. Yeah, man. He's give him the MVP. Get a larger share than anybody else if they go and win the whole thing. All right, our barge of the week. You know, for those who don't know, every week we put somebody out on one of these shipping container barges that goes out to the Pacific Ocean, and then we just leave it there because they don't get a comeback unless we decide they get a comeback. Most of the times we just leave them out there. God, did I not get the barge sound effect? You stupid idiot. You know what? I'm doing 15,000 different things, and I don't have the barge. Oh, I'm going to get it, Danny. I'm going to
Google a barge.
Yeah, I'm going to get the barge, and I know it's a shipping container, and that's just
it's not even a shipping container. It's a shipping ship.
There it is. There's the barge.
There we go. MSC Carouge.
Yeah, MSC Carouge. We love the barge, all right? The barge is one of our favorites. No doubt that this guy has got to go on the barge, Danny.
Had a drop as well earlier, and for the game
come on.
to go possibly to overtime.
Oh,
brutal.
I don't want to put him on it, Danny, and I'm going to bring him back.
I feel bad.
But he's got to go on the barge.
This is an awful. He also fumbled in the game.
Yeah, look at this. We're going to go to overtime. No.
Wasn't prepared for that. What a
freaking brutal.
Shocking.
You know what's crazy about it? It's like I think I've had him on my fantasy team for like 15 years or whatever. I mean, I'm exaggerating. And he's unbelievable. Yeah. He's like one of the best tight ends, and he just, the biggest game, and I feel awful for him.
I feel really bad for him, honestly. I'm like trying to hold back on being. I've kind of been known in my circles as like a Mark Andrews hater because over the years he's had some really embarrassing drops, but like
especially in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. And I've kind of been like, when he dropped that pass, I got like 1,000 tweets, talking about how like he gives me the ick. But man, I do feel bad for him. Like honestly, he's never gonna live that down.
You can't recover from that. Maybe next year they win the Super Bowl and he has the game-winning catch.
Yeah, hopefully. But, that would be what it takes at this point. It's like a Bill Buckner type of deal.
Sure. Yeah.
So it sucks. I feel bad for him. Obviously, it's terrible. But that was I would have loved to have seen what universe that we live in where they go to overtime, or we get to see Josh Allen drive back down the field on that play. Sure. It would have been a fun way to end the game.
And it changes the narrative on Lamar too, because now Lamar gets lumped in again, can't win the big game. But who can win the big game? That's Danny Kelly. Danny Kelly joins us every week from the Ringer senior staff writer, Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Ringer NFL Draft Show. Go check that out on Spotify and wherever you find your podcast. Our weekly conversation talking all things NFL, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Go visit GeorgetownBeer.com. All right, Danny, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good.